So we're coming to the end of the class, and before we go into relaxation, I'd like to teach you a very effective and gentle pranayama. So what is a pranayama? Prana is the life force of every living thing in the universe. Chinese call it qi, and simply translated in English terms, most people call it energy, but it's much more than that. Prana gives life to everything. Ayama, the second part of the word, means control of, or restraint of, or regulation of, or expansion of. So when we do breathing techniques, as they're simply described, we're doing pranayamas. We are controlling the life force that comes into us and that leaves us. Breathing techniques is a very simple explanation, but we'll call them breathing techniques for this beginner video. So this pranayama, or breathing technique, is called Dirgha Pranayama. And Dirgha is a complete. So it's the complete breath. It teaches you how to fully utilize your lungs. So let's imagine that your torso is 3 compartments. And the first compartment is the belly. The second compartment would be your rib cage, just below the rib cage, so the solar plexus area. And the third compartment will be your chest, right up to your collarbones. So imagine that you have those 3 compartments. If you've ever seen one of those long balloons and they're bumpy, imagine that you're going to blow up a long balloon with 3 bumps, okay? So let's just practice breathing into the first compartment first, and then we'll put it all together. So the next time you inhale, imagine that you're going to fill up that first bump at the very end of the balloon, your belly. So breathe in, inflate your balloon belly, and then when you exhale, deflate that balloon belly. Practice that a few more times. Inhale, breathe into the first compartment like you're filling a balloon, and exhale, deflate that compartment of the balloon. Try that a few more times, because a lot of folks are what they call reverse breathers. And when they inhale, their belly actually goes in. So if you are a reverse breather, try to practice not doing that. Practice doing the opposite. Practice what we're doing here. Inflate as you inhale, it's a balloon, and exhale and deflate that first section. Okay, one more time. Inflate compartment 1 and deflate compartment 1. And relax. We're going to move up into compartment 2. So let's inhale into 1 and bring the breath all the way up into 2. And deflate from 2 and deflate from 1. Let's try that again. Inhale into 1. Inhale into solar plexus 2, and then exhale from 2, and exhale from 1, deflating. One more time, inflate into 1, inflate up into solar plexus 2, and deflate from 2, and empty 1. Let's relax. If you find it very challenging, don't get discouraged. It takes a lot of practice for a lot of people. Now we're going to go right up to the third compartment, right up to the collarbones, and inflate the entire balloon, all 3 bumps. So on the next breath in, let's inflate 1, bring the breath up into 2, and all the way up into the chest and collarbones 3. You are completely full. Hold it for a second, and then exhale, deflate the chest. Exhale from compartment 2, deflate compartment 1. You're totally empty. Hold that out for a second. And let's continue. Inflate to 1, then 2, then 3. You are full. Hold it in. And then exhale from 3. Exhale from 2. Exhale from 1. You are empty. Hold it out. Continue. 1, 2, 3, holding in, empty 3, 2, 1. hold it out. Fill 1, 2, 3, hold it in, empty 3, 2, 1. Keep it going. Fill 1, 2, 3, hold it in, empty 3, 2, 1. And again, fill 1, 2, 3, hold it in, exhale 3, 2, and 1. Release the practice of Dirgha Pranayama. Come back to your natural breathing and notice how shallow you normally breathe. Most people only breathe into the chest. We breathe very shallowly, most people. And when we do this, we don't give the body enough oxygen. And we don't utilize the flow of prana like we could and like we should for a healthy body, mind, and soul. So because of our inefficient breathing, it affects our health and we're not as healthy as we could be, mentally, emotionally, physically. So practice that 3-part breath, that Dirgha Pranayama, as often as you can. So we're controlling, we're regulating, we're expanding the flow of prana when we practice pranayamas. Pranayamas are the 4th limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. The postures that we did previous to this are the 3rd limb, the asanas, in the 8 limbs of yoga. Maharishi Patanjali codified over 2,000 years ago a system for the general public to practice yoga because prior to that, as far as we know, yoga was only practiced by the wealthy, the rishis, the religious leaders. It was a very secret practice, and it was only allowed to be practiced by men as well. Women were not allowed. So if we practice all 8 limbs of yoga, all of the 8 branches, and not just the postures, we get the full picture of a full yoga practice and what yoga was intended to be. Quickly, the first limb of the 8 limbs of yoga, or the Ashtanga practice of yoga, the first limb is social behaviors, how we act socially in public and with other people, if we're good to other people. The second limb, the niyamas, and that's our personal disciplines, how we treat ourselves, if we respect ourselves, honor ourselves, stay true to ourselves, keep ourselves clean, things like that. Don't steal, don't lie, things like that. The third limb of the 8 limbs is the asanas, the postures, what we just did, all the movements. But they're postures with a purpose. They're postures for meditation. They're not postures to show off. They're not postures to prove that you can touch your toes better than your neighbor. They're postures with a purpose. They're for meditation. The 4th limb of the 8 limbs is what we just did. Pranayamas, the way we control or regulate the breath. And you just did Dirgha Pranayama. The 5th limb is Pratyahara. And that's when we are so focused internally that we do not allow the senses to distract us from the practice. Even though we notice things, we'll hear things, we may smell things, or feel like a cool breeze, but we don't allow it to distract us from our meditation practice. We are keenly focused internally, noticing every breath, noticing every sensation. Pratyahara. The 6th limb, or branch, is dharana. It's when we concentrate the mind. So when you are single-mindedly focused, and in our yoga practice of postures, it's when we're completely focused on the sensations of the body and how they move exactly with the rhythm of our breath, of our pranayama. So we're concentrating, dharana. The 7th limb, dhyana, is prolonged periods of concentration, of dharana, limb 6, automatically, naturally, and organically will lead you into meditation, dhyana. Now, if you have those 7 branches pretty much taken care of, you will probably more easily reach that 8th branch, that 8th limb, called samadhi, bliss, or a divine connection. You feel a oneness with the divine energy all around you. Now, that's not to say that you can't reach samadhi or bliss or enlightenment or nirvana if you don't practice those first 7 limbs. And the limbs do not have to be practiced in any order. There's no particular order. But your chances of finding samadhi, bliss, are greater if you've taken care of those 7 limbs prior to. So those are the 8 limbs of yoga, according to Maharishi Patanjali and his book called the Yoga Sutras, which I highly recommend you read if you want to become a serious student of yoga. So, it's time for relaxation.